Start with the TTC thing. That I shot that later in the proceedings, kind of after I had got to the place. Now, this stuff on Yonge Street I had got at the end of the night after I had been on Queen Street. But I put it first because everybody already knew that downtown was busted up, and I wanted to start with that and show you like the hardworking people of Toronto. You know, show you Toronto rallying around itself, licking its wounds. But then I took it into the fray to remind you that this was all going on, but it wasn't over. Now at this time, the news had stopped talking about it, but I knew it was still going on, and that's why I knew I needed to go down there, because I needed to know what's happening after the news stops talking about it. Right now they're letting through a couple of Greyhound buses that are carrying, I guess, more cops, or who knows. But they closed that line up pretty quick, and just a lot of this was just feeling like Lord of the Rings to me. Just the perfect, just get right back in formation. Just standing there, it just made me think that they were a chess set. Perfectly aligned, ready for action. That seemed pretty okay. Like, it seemed at this point like nothing really bad was going to happen. You had stuff like these local neighbors, like this guy who were going over and talking to the cops, but not really stirring up shit. There was a little bit of chest thumping in the crowd, in that you had a kind of like this one dude that looked like Chinese mafia to me. Another dude who kind of had a bunch of girls with him. It's almost like he was going on to show off. So now they're all clapping, and some protesters have got some people going. Watch, I'm gonna put some text up here. And the guy in the blue T-shirt, he's the guy that threw the water bottle that got the police charged with, and it was pretty crazy. I'm not sure why he wasn't the guy that got arrested though. Now, 2 water bottles actually got thrown. I watched him throw the second. So we were already kind of on guard. Yeah, it's a little tense. It's almost like it's a fire, and there we go, crack. He just threw the water bottle, and I'm looking around and trying to get the guy. At the same time, I'm trying to show the cops in case anything happens there. Yeah, it just starts to settle. To feel like these guys at the front here, they start to go in, and you'll notice that this Asian kid right here, he's gonna like pose for pictures. There you go. And then you got the other dude on the left there, who's taking pictures of himself as Blackberry. I think that's like one of those primal animalistic human things where they're so nervous and they're so tense and so on edge that they have to express it, and it comes off as that kind of inappropriate humor. Okay, so now the cops are charging, and right there is where they fucking swallowed the guy up. It looked like fucking Batman. It looked like a shadow fucking came out of the cops and swallowed that guy up, is what it looked like. It was messed. They swooped him up behind the line, and that was the last you fucking saw of him. So now they've moved ahead, 25 feet. There's a bus shelter that's behind them okay, get away from it. But there's a bus shelter behind them that you'll see that I was beside. Now that kid in the yellow shirt, a lot of people have commented on him because he was like the voice of reason, literally. Like, he spent the whole time of this protest shouting about being reasonable and being calm, and they're on our side and this kind of thing. So these 2 girls are talking to the kid in the blue shirt about why he threw the water bottle. So he's having sort of a political discussion with them, as best of a political discussion as he can have, being that I eavesdropped. I tried to get on video. I eavesdropped, and he really wasn't saying anything very intelligent. And now he's out of the front. Okay, in the yellow, here's the guy in the yellow shirt again. It felt like people were just starting to listen to that guy. Actually, like everybody started to perk up at that guy. And it was right about when people started to perk up at that guy in the yellow shirt that the guy in the black clothes called him a hippie, made fun of him for being a pothead, and then that black dude in the white hat started getting all like, "Oh, last week I come too." This guy, I look at this guy, and this is like why I went out, and why I want to get these people on camera. These 2 guys look like they're there because the bar was closed. You know what I mean? Like, so much of what's going on was just an excuse for people with no hope and no plan to take their frustrations out on anything, whatever, whoever. And that could be some kind of subconscious reason why they dress in black. Because they represent darkness. They long ago let the dark energy that's always nipping at our heels swallow them up. Okay, so now the protest is moving. Like the people who were on the front just fucking like boom, like almost like something in Boys in the Hood, just turned and started running. And they ran and then went up Cameron Street. And that's why in the video you hear me say, I don't know what they know that I don't, but I'm not sure, I want to find out. So right now I'm trying to position myself at the foot of Cameron because I want to be able to have Cameron or Queen heading west be my escape route. Now I guess I'm naive or dumb or something because I didn't even clue in that they were bringing another fucking battalion in from the west. And so basically what happened is that I was in the middle of the final squelching out of the fire that was this thing. Because they had the standoff at Spadina, and then they brought these cops in, these guys right here are now coming in from the west, and they're doing the marching. They're doing that shit. Coming down the street. Get this was interesting. Somebody was like blasting Chuck Berry out of a window, so you have to imagine that the whole time this is all going on, after it moved over to the base of Cameron Street here, that the whole time it's going on, your soundtrack is fucking Sweet Little 16 and Maybelline and fucking like Chuck Berry's greatest hits playing in the distance, coming out of what I think was an apartment above the fray. And here's our friend in the blue t-shirt again. He ain't got a care in the world. Yeah. Just the swagger of him that just don't give a fuck. Like there's nothing about him that says that he's brave. So I'm not trying to say that he's like that kind of thing. He's just like shiftless, aimless. And that's what fascinated me about him. It's just it's vapid. Like there's just nothing to him to look at him. You like just barely had a soul, sad little kind of thing. I don't know. So yeah, so now people are starting to get scared, I could tell. Because now we're all being squeezed in, and it's like we can't get out a queen on either side. And then we're starting to clue in, okay, so something must be coming down Cameron as well. And so, if the last hurrah of whatever might have been violent was actually hanging out there at that time, this could have been a bad scene, and me and them people with the TV camera would have been squeezed in the middle of it. Now, this video isn't very action-packed in terms of, there's a lot of people that made way better videos than me of the action as it happened. But I went downtown. What I thought I was going to do was like a 60 minutes kind of fucking 2020 style piece where I'm going to cover the aftermath and like give some input on it and like lend my opinion and perspective and that kind of thing, and then came upon like the last stand of the event. See, what I'm doing now is I'm staying close to anybody because there's two big TV cameras on site, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to stay close to them. I was at the beer thing, the beer event earlier that day, so I still had my beer press credentials dangling from me, just so that it was obvious, and I'm trying to make it look like a press. So staying, because I figured those people with the cameras, this is their job, right? They do shit like this, so they would know what to do and where to go. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay close to them. And so now we're on Cameron Street, and so the police are sweeping in now, just fucking literally sweeping Queen Street of all of it, shoving it up into Cameron, and just letting it disperse person by person, squeezing them out, a couple of pair out the top. See, what we don't know, and we're going to find out in a minute, is that Cameron Street just has a couple of bike units on it. a ways behind us, halfway up the street. And what we don't know is that there's an empty lot in the dark, not lit at all. And in that empty lot is a whole third battalion like this. And then find out even way later that there's an alley up the road from there, and there's a fourth one of these battalions hiding out in that alley. So they are fucking ready. If any shit goes down, they are putting it out. Done. So, yeah, this is when, okay, so now Queen Street is officially clear. The cops, and I can picture the commissioner or chief or whatever being off in a command center, and I'm picturing that they've all got like the earpiece, and he's looking down on it, and it almost is like fucking playing a game of Risk or something. So here's the cops. Now the cops are all, these bike cops, they were just hanging out through the whole thing, and now they're all scooting north, so I know, okay, let's fucking move with this. See here, this is the one. It's dark, but it's ominous. Look at it. There's a whole fucking battalion of them in there, ready for action. And it was just chilling because I didn't even know they were there, and I'm walking up the road, and I didn't even know that was an empty lot. And then, up over my shoulder as I pass it, out in my peripheral vision, it just pops up like fucking Batman. And it just made me think of like Imperial Stormtroopers. Chilling was the word that came to mind at the time. Like my back just went like whoo! It gave me such a jump. It was literally chilling. But yeah, so I actually at this point now just want to be there to the very end. That's my mission now, is to cover the absolute very end of this. And apparently these guys too, because we're all hanging out against this fence. And this battalion that has just come out of that alley I was telling you about, they're shouting at us, "Get back! Get back!" But we know that the other cops there have cut off the way down. So you'll hear one of these other reporter people shouting, "Where do you want us to go?" And you can tell they don't even know what's going on. So eventually they kind of herded us into, and this was interesting to me, they herded us into a housing complex where if shit was going to go on, it would have been way easier to go on in there because it's so snaky, like the pathways and stuff to go through it. So yeah, so we're down to like, less than 10 people now, including myself. There's no protesters anymore. It's all just hangers on and neighborhood residents, curious people.
Good night. Thank you so much.
So yeah.
You're very safe. I've given up on democracy, and I'd like to thank you for that.
I guess what happened is like that guy in the blue T-shirt and his buddies were like the last of the people who would have been willing to get violent. And so one of their buddies must have come down Cameron, having seen those cops in that vacant lot and in that alley. And here, this looks like a fucking 5th battalion of them now, just ready, just on call, on patient, hanging out, ready. Anyways, I could hypothesize all day about motivations and why people do this stuff and whatnot, but these are just examples of when we've really lost the plot, and it's people that just don't get it. I mean, John Lennon tried to tell us fucking 41 years ago that you can't be anti, because when you're anti the thing that you want to go away, you don't have another idea to replace it with. So you just build up the same thing again. Only now you're at the top and you don't want to give up your power, so now you're the institution.
Good job,
John Lennon put it in very plain terms 41 years ago, and now here we are to go out and take part in the destruction and that kind of stuff plays into their game, plays into the con.